Hello and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today we have Lynn here with us. She actually is just about to publish her book, and then also he's really involved in listening, and she's got a lot of experience with this and stuff. So, Lynn, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Oh, my name's Lynn Teatro. I'm hail from Peterborough, Ontario, Canada. I am a great grandmother, and my legacy project is creating a book on listening. I've noticed that we don't listen the way we used to. Growing up on a farm, we'd listen. We had a black and white TV, so no technology. Um, we had to work with the land. We had to work with nature. And so there were times when the best thing we could do was just sit and talk and hear stories and get to know each other in a deep, meaningful level. And now, as much as I love technology, as much as that I absolutely love conversing with people all over the world, we're not getting that deep, meaningful connections that we really, really need to have with our most intimate relationships. I had to laugh. I got out at my neighbor's place, was let out, and she was out shoveling the snow. And I thought, that's odd. Usually her husband does that job. And he was standing at the door with crutches, and he'd had knee surgery. She'd had some sort of surgery over the last few months. I'd been laid up for months with a ruptured Achilles tendon. And we live right next door to each other, like 10 feet away. And we had no idea as to what's going on in each other's world.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I said, okay, we're going to use one of these devices. I'm going to phone you on a regular basis so we can connect. So I phoned her yesterday, said, hey, I'm going shopping tomorrow. Need groceries? Just doing neighborly things and just getting caught up, opening that door and saying, yeah, let's keep the channels open. Yeah, we've got snow. We need to make big paths through it, but we can still be connected. And yeah, personal relationships. It's like people are so busy with their jobs. They're, looking after the mechanics of family life, but they're not investing the time and energy into really spending time together is watching a movie rather than spending time telling stories of past, telling the stories, hearing visions of futures. They're not doing that intimate sharing thing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, even watching movies, that's like sort of almost old school now. Everyone is on TikTok or on Instagram Reels, or just like watching these short clips and going tuk tuk tuk, and the attention span is just is disappearing. So how can people actually get out of that treadmill?
Well, our attention span isn't disappearing. We're just not creating the space in order to really use our attention span. I was at a friend's place for New Year's Day. Her and her partner needed my help in order to get it ready because they were having her four siblings and their spouses and a few of the nieces and nephews coming over for dinner. And she's got some health issues. He'd had a stroke. So I came over to help them. And she says, well, this is how it's going to turn out. We're going to sit down. We'll have our meal, and the men will go out and watch the game and the women will stay in here and we will talk. That's not what happened, because there was another listener at the table. And at the end of the meal, when everybody had their dessert, the other table got up and left. But the table that I was at, there was 5 of us, 2 listeners, 2 people who were quiet. They were listening, but they weren't engaged listeners like Scott and I were. And then the third person was ready to share a story. And he told the story of his family, his birth family splitting up and how he got adopted. Now, these are his siblings that were getting together for Christmas, their Christmas dinner. And he told me a story that none of them had heard before.
Wow.
And we were there for an hour and a half. So attention span isn't gone. It's just that we're not using it anymore. We're not creating the spaces. So it's creating the spaces that encourage listening. You can't be a good listener and have your coat on to go out the door. You can't be a good listener with your phone in your hand. You can't be a good listener typing on the computer. In order to be a good listener, you have to be paying attention. It doesn't mean you can't be doing stuff, I mean, one of my favorite memories of my grandmother was watching her eviscerate a chicken and her telling me the story of her growing up on a farm. And I was like 4.
Exactly, yeah. And where do you see this going? I mean, obviously, you're writing a book, and do you plan to create some movements? Do you plan to create some meetings? Like, what's
I
the
want
goal?
I want to create awareness, number one, that this needs to happen, that it's not that we've lost our attention span. There's still there that notion that we've got an attention span of a goldfish. No, no, we're just being constantly distracted. And the only way we can stop being distracted is by making the choice to say, okay, today I'm going to press pause. I'm going to put do not disturb on my phone. I am going to invite people that I care about. I'm going to create an atmosphere where it's not music, it's not movie, it's just us. A task that's easy to do is a great way to have a conversation. Just coffee and candlelight. I mean, it's amazing. Have you ever had a meal where you, with kids at the table, and you put candles on the table and lower the lights?
Well, if you're asking me, I mean, I had before I had my kids. Now they're very small and they don't sort of sit around. They
Okay.
just like
Okay. I
they
thought
like
that
to do some very interesting crazy things that kids of 2 and 3 years old they're doing. So that's my end of the story. But yeah, I understand how this can be really like sort of meditational, and also it can inspire people to talk and stuff. Because I remember when I was a little kid, I used to love listening to my grandfather telling me stories, because we still have this house. My grandfather is not with us, but like he actually was telling me these stories when we go to this house next to the sea, and he was telling me about, like his time when he was playing football professionally, and when he was traveling in Australia and places like that, when that was like really far away. And yeah, it was very interesting to listen to this. And then he was meeting some people on the way, and then, I was traveling for about 7 years as well on a professional tennis tour, working with some amazing tennis players. And I used to have these situations where, for example, I was in Brazil getting out of the lift and I met my friend. Yeah, and I was like, wow. And I never knew he was gonna be there, because he was supposed to, like, I was thinking he's in Europe, and then I remember the stories from my grandfather from that moment. And then, yeah, so it's very interesting. So what do you think about this? Like, how can people actually achieve this?
they have to, like, number one, they have to make a conscious decision they're going to make it happen. Number two, they have to recognize what the barriers are to good listening. I mentioned the phone, I mentioned the jacket, I mentioned doing tasks that require a large bandwidth. You need to be able to give your attention. You need to listen, not with just your ears, but with your eyes, with your body. I mean, you can, one of the best containers for listening is a car. When I was doing social work, I worked in an outreach center, and we had a lovely little counseling office. People could come in, make an appointment. But the real stories came down when we drove them to get groceries or to an appointment. Somehow sitting in a car where attention isn't focused on anything or anyone. I mean, people, when they're driving, they, a lot of it is automatic. You just keep it on the road, that kind of thing. So nobody's distracted by anything. So there's ample room for conversation. And we heard more depth from car conversations than we ever had from most of our counseling sessions that we had with them. So looking for opportunities that are kind of naturally occurring anyway, and just optimizing those. So
Great.
doing dishes side by side, turn off the phone, turn down the music, and just let's talk.
Yeah. Absolutely, sounds good. So, if people want to actually, if someone wants to actually get in touch with you, learn more about you, connect to you, how they can do that?
Well, the easiest way is Facebook Messenger. That's how you and I connected.
Mhm.
My email is lynn.teatro@gmail.com, so they can connect with me that way. I'm also on LinkedIn. So, yeah, I check my messages regularly. So that's probably the easiest way.
Excellent. Yeah. Thanks so much, Lynn. Thank you so much for being a guest today. Thank you all for watching, listening to this episode. If you liked it, drop us a like, subscribe, and then on top of that, if you have any questions for Lynn or me, you can ask them in the comments, and we'll be more than happy to answer them. Lynn, thanks a lot for sharing your story and knowledge. See you soon.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you so much.